Welcome to pattern making class. I'm your college instructor, Annette Julie, production pattern maker and fashion designer to the garment industry. Today we're going to be working on making a front yoke with our basic bodice. So grab your pattern making tools, your ruler, paper, scissors, pencil, pen, some tape, some pattern making weights, or some little cans. Tape dispenser works nicely too as a pattern weight. And you will also need to make a copy of your front 1 dart or 2 dart bodice. So let's get started. We've got our copy of our 1 dart bodice, and we're going to go ahead and add on a few things, make a few lines here, draw the yoke seam, etc. So I'm going to mark down at my center front 2.5 inches, and this is at my center front neck, and I'm going to draw the yoke seam, or I can go down further if I would like to. It's, you know, your own or my own design. There it is. There's the start of the yoke. Now we're going to draw a line from our apex straight up to the yoke seam. Okay. Now we're going to draw a line 1.5 inch and 1.5 inch on either side of the slash line that we went from apex right here to our new style line. This is going to be our yoke. This top part. The bottom part will be our bodice. And so we're making notches to line up yoke to bodice, and we're going to add some shirring here. We're going to cut and separate these. So from here out, 1.5 inches. From the center line out, 1.5 inches, and we went from apex up, and we're making a right angle. That's looking really good. So now let's go ahead and draw slash lines to our apex from our waist dart. Great. Now let's draw a line that's perpendicular with our apex and our center front, but it's just going just to the side seam, because we're going to draw a slash line over here, make a dart, make some other fullness, take some other fullness away. Okay, so we've gone from our waist darts and drawn our long slash lines up to apex. This here, that's your dart tip. And that's the apex of our bust mount. Then I drew a line perpendicular to center front, but I just drew it from apex over, but it's perpendicular to our center front. Okay, now we're ready to start doing some slashing. We're going to slash up to the apex. You can get rid of this. We're going to use some paper to fill this area afterward. So this over to the side. I'm going to slash a few more lines here. all the way to that apex. Try to keep that attached if you possibly can. Now we're going to turn this into 2 darts, like so, for now. Grab a little piece of paper. Here's the dart pickup we had, and I just folded it in half. And so now we're just more like about 2 inches. So we're going to shrink this dart down and make it just closer to 2 inches. Grab some tape. Tape down the dart leg closest to the center front. That looks good. Let's go ahead and mark over about 2 inches. And we're going to close that dart and make it a lot smaller. Let that fullness open up into a side dart for now. We can trim some of our paper. That looks good. We still need to draw in the ruled dart legs and the bottom of the waist. And we have now the side dart, but we don't need the fullness here. We're going to put it up on the yoke seam. We're going to create shearing here and shearing here instead of that dart. So we're going to slash. From the armhole in. Now we're going to slash down to the apex, and we're slashing on our yoke seam. And look, we can cut and separate it because we have those notches right already. This is the yoke. The lower portion is going to be our bodice. To put seam allowance, of course. And now we're going to slash that line that we originally drew up to the yoke from the apex. We're going to close the side dart. We don't need it. We've slashed and spread fullness up here. Now grab yourself another piece of scrap paper. I'm going to put that underneath. A little bit more tape. That looks good. I feel like everything's taped down. Use as little or a lot tape if you want to. You can also split it down the middle and just use half if you'd like and conserve. When I have my yoke over here, just working on the bodice section. Now I'm going to take my hip curve and I'm going to blend right through this area. So I'll probably take off a little bit there and there blend a curve. Look, we've trimmed off a little bit. And then down here at the bottom, at the waist, we're also going to do a blend, because we're not going to use the dart. We're going to use shearing. So we're going to curve a little bit between our dart legs. Blend down here. Now, these are no longer notches. We're going to move our notches out 1.5 inches. Out 1.5, and on this side, out 1.5. And so we've got 2 inches here in between, and we've moved our notches out, But in essence, I'll tell you what we're going to shear it to. We're going to shear it back to its original amount. So we can make an arrow going to an arrow, and this is 1.5 plus 1.5, that's 3 inches total. You have 2 inches here of shearing. The total amount is 5 inches, but you're going to shear to 3 inches, which is the original and the original amount. So it's less the shearing that you've added. And so you're going to disperse all that 2 inches of shearing between the 3 inches. Now we're going to do the same type of thing up here on the shoulder. Here's my shoulder seam. That was my waist seam. But here we only have 1 5/8. So this was plus 1 5/8 inch shearing. And we went out 1.5 inches on either side of where we spread the ease to. So here's the 1.5 inches that we went out. We went out 1.5 inches. We have that that line we marked, and we marked those notches. So we went out that 1.5 inches. We add that together, it's 3 inches. So we can draw a line, and this is going to be the same thing. Flip that around so we can see that now. Shear to 3 inches. So here you have 1 5/8 inch ease up here atop the bust, and then below the bust you have 2 inches of ease. Then that's going to sew together with our yoke seam. Those notches line up here, and then you put rows of basting stitch and you connect it over like so, and we have a nice curved seam. And this is Annette Julie, and I look forward to you checking out one of my next videos.